Natasha, and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today's card was all about when you want to have a cute window shaker, but you still need to write inside the card. So we are going to make vellum pockets to put our bits and pieces in, and I'm going to create one today to show you. So first of all, I'm going to create a bit of a frame. Now I'm going to cut this out of my card base. I have 2 of the oval shapes from the Hero Arts Infinity die sets. This is just a stacking die set which has usually, depending on the company, 15 to 20 dies that are all really close in size, one by one, gradually getting bigger. And these are super handy. They are a very good investment for beginning if you've got a die cutting machine. And I have got 2 ovals here that are pretty similar in size. They're just one step next to each other. Now I have die cut the window out of my card base. Then I've been using these Sizzix die cutting sheets, and these are really good. I had been using these Stick It double-sided adhesive sheets, which were super thin for die cutting. And then I also had some scrapbook.com ones that were honestly a little bit too thick. I never got a great cut when I was die cutting with them. And so I experimented with a few different companies, and I have found a couple of good ones, but these Sizzix ones are working well for me. So I have created a frame by adding the 2 oval dies together, and then I'm going to die cut a little bit of silver mirror cardstock out of this, and this just creates a gorgeous frame around the window that we cut in our card base. Now I forgot to do this. You can actually do this all at the same time. I have a card front which I'm going to line up at the same place as the oval on my card base. Now I probably should have done these together at the beginning, but I totally forgot, so we'll go back and do it now and that'll be just fine. I run both of them through together again, and that way I have the exact alignment when I want to put my card front piece on. I am using some mint tape to hold these together because this is just a low tack tape that is definitely not going to rip my page. That's so important during this process in particular. And then I have my card base with the hole in it and a card front with the same hole in it in the exact same spot. So we are ready to do a little bit of decorating and a little bit of embellishing. This is the Floating by Sunny Studios, and it is really just a gorgeous little set of balloons. It has some other little bows and the tassels that you can put down the bottom. It has a few sentiments, happy birthday, floating by to say, and hello. It has also a little exclamation stamp in it. Really small stamp set, so really good value. And when I was purchasing this one, I was thinking that I can attach these balloons to any creature, critter, really anything. Honestly, I could just fill the whole background with those gorgeous balloons and color them in. That would also make a stunning background. Lots of good things. Now, I found these owls so cute. I have used these a few times now. I actually bought 2 pages of these because I thought I would really enjoy them. This one here is also super sweet, and I have used this in a card already, but look at these little guys. This one I think is called Berry and Jerry. Yeah, there you go, Berry and Jerry number 2. And the other one, the first one was the Doodled owls. Now, for me, as I think I've said in previous videos, I'm not a huge fan of sort of the cutesy characters. I mean, enough to invest in stamp sets. I don't really enjoy the colouring process of them, and so that's okay. That's just me. That's just what I prefer. And so for me, this feels like I'm kind of cheating because I don't have to invest all that money in these stamp sets and the time in colouring them, and then probably the die cuts, who knows. But so for me, this is just a happy medium. I get to have a few of the creatures. I don't have to do any of the colouring, and it's a much better price point for what I'm willing to spend. So these are transfers, so I'm going to put that aside. I just put it down onto my scrap piece of paper, which was actually the inside oval, and added a little bit of water to the backing, and it doesn't take that long. It takes about 30 seconds or less, but I'll just pop it to the side and come back and get it soon. Now, we need a little bit of added texture here on the card front. So I'm just giving a really loose, light layer of tumbled glass on the front there. Not at all even, not at all beautiful, just getting a little bit of base colour down on there. Then I'm going to take the brush hex from Tim Holtz. This is a new one, and I'm going to be using it lots because when I invest in something, I want to use it time and time again because that makes it better value for money for me. So I'm just taking the exact same tumbled glass ink and just lightly going over a few areas, not making it perfect. It's definitely just some background noise going on for what we will put on the front. Now, next things up, we're just quickly moving through all of these little steps. There is a few to making this card, but I think it ends up stunning and it's a pretty fun, playful card. So next up we are going to move on to this little creature. So this is well done at this point. You can slide off the transfer, and for me I'm going to fussy cut these owls out. Now that is something I look at when I purchase stamps, when I purchase dies, when I purchase transfers, when I purchase rub-ons. Am I able to fussy cut these myself to save myself purchasing coordinating dies? Now obviously with these there isn't coordinating dies, but it just means that the product is more versatile for my needs. It's more versatile for me. So once I have fussy cut this out, I am going around the edges with a little brush marker. I always come in from the back in case your pen slips and then you haven't ruined the front of your image. And this just makes my fussy cutting look better. It takes away the white core of the paper that I've popped it onto. Same with these balloons. I'm just going to fussy cut really quickly around them. Again, it's what I look at when I purchase. And I'm just going to take a couple of TriBlend markers. These are the Spectrum Noir markers. There are 3 shades in each pen. So for me, alcohol marker colouring is not something I like it. I'm probably just not great at it. I'm not great at colour coordinating, all those things. So taking the work out of it by having the 3 pens in one barrel is exactly what I needed. So I bought this set years ago now, and it's still for sale. It's still on the market. So I'll link it down below in case this is sounding familiar to you. The idea of picking out, 3 coordinating colours to do some blending, 3 different shades of the same colour is daunting to me. So those Spectrum Noir markers definitely take that element out of it for me when I come to colouring in. Now I'm going to create the Vellum pocket. I am working with this Lawn Fawn Vellum, which is the only vellum that I use in my craft room. I love it. It's versatile. If I can get one product to do all the jobs for me, that's the product for me. So this one, I can do dry embossing, I can do heat embossing, I can do all the good things with this vellum, which means that it's the one for me. And I stick to a product. Once I found a good one, I tend to stick to it. So I've just created a very, very basic little pocket, put some double-sided tape down the sides, and I go over the crease line to make sure that there is nothing going to escape. Then I fold down the 2 sides which are exposed, and you'll notice I still have the release tape on the top part there because we need to fill this pocket. Now this is going to be a flat shaker. I don't want any foam involved, and I don't want there to be much dimension at all. So I'm thinking about the flat elements that I can add. I have some of these really flat sequins there, but these little chips, these are like iridescent little, I don't know, they're just very, very lightweight. It's great for when you want to add a shaker and you don't want the shaker element to become too heavy. So these are fantastic for exactly that. These are just featherweight light, and these sequins, as you know, they're pretty light. There's a little bit of weight to them, but not too much at all. So I'll pop some of those dark blue ones in, and then I'll pop a little bit of the other little iridescent medium in it, and we are all good. Now, this is just a preference thing as to how full you would like your little pockets to be. I prefer, I guess, medium sort of, not too empty, not too full, and with adding the elements as well, it's also going to hide the writing that we put on the inside. So think about that if you want to have really light elements and you won't be able to see through them. The dark ones, it's going to help disguise it. 2 layers of vellum means that you're probably not going to be able to see the writing through it. So all these good things to sort of have a window but disguise the fact. Because sometimes I will have a really big window in the front of a card if I know I don't need to write much in it. I don't need to write a big, long, gorgeous message. message. It's just a really happy, lovely short message I can put. Then I will use a card that has a big window. But for when I still want the cool window effect, I still love the shaker element, and I want to be able to write plenty, then this is sort of more of my go-to. Now I can peel off that top bit there, and everything is 100% sealed up. Nothing can shake out of here, and it's really fun. Once you start doing this, it's really hard to stop. Everything moves around really nicely. It's not caught up anywhere, so I was happy with the result here. You can see that on the front of my card base, I've put a little bit of double-sided adhesive around the oval. This doesn't have to be perfect because we are literally just going to pop our little vellum pocket on top of this. And it's really as simple as that. We are going to put the card front, which we did with the tumbled glass ink, the blue inks. That's going to go over top of this and hide everything going on. So I was just making sure that you can see no adhesive, nothing, everything's perfect. And still shakes really, really well. You can barely see through the front of the card, and I like it. This is looking good. So far, so good. Right, let's get to putting everything together because we are nearly done here. I'm going to add a little bit of double-sided adhesive all around the front here. Now you can certainly use one that's wider than this, but sometimes I look through my drawers and remind myself I need to use up the things that I don't necessarily always reach for as well. This is a very handy width of tape to have on hand, and I do love the scrapbook.com one. But I probably just don't use it as often. I seem to use the wider tapes more often, so I need to make sure that I'm using up everything, because let me know if you've kind of found the same thing. But if some things in the craft room just don't have a long shelf life, their longevity is not great. And by longevity, I mean sometimes, 5 years or 10 years. And I will come back to something and the adhesive has gone a little bit, or, it might have faded, it might have accidentally been in a sunny spot, or I don't know. These things happen. And so I try and have a little rule in my room that I just keep things moving, keep them moving through, and make sure that I use what I purchase. Otherwise, it makes the items really, really expensive. When you don't use the thing that you paid money for, that's what I try and avoid. So now I'm going to take, this is such an old sentiment stamp set, and I love it. I could come back to this one all the time. I love the font. I love everything about it, and it's got such a good range. Wishing you a happy birthday. Then I'm going to take the backing off the frame that we created, pop this on the front, and remember this looks all nice and clean and tidy from the inside. That's the point of having to add a card front over top as well. We are hiding everything. Make sure everything's in place perfectly lined up, and we use the same oval die so we know that it's going to line up perfectly. Stick it down, and that is a nice permanent adhesive. Then all we have to do is add our little elements. I'm going to have these slightly overlapping the circle because, again, when I look from the inside, you can't see the images, the back of the images. So this is perfect for me. A little bit of double-sided tape and a little bit of glue, and we are good to go. I love this gorgeous little owl. I think this birthday card is very appropriate for even a boy. I would definitely give this to a girl or a boy. And I love that I haven't got flowers and butterflies for once. Sometimes I'm trying to move away from those a little bit. I notice that people look for things that are other than that. Definitely as well as, but yeah, for me, I'm just trying to make sure that I have a really diverse range when people jump into my cards and they can see, because they come to my house. I have a stash of them at my house, and relatives, whoever, family members, they all just come and raid my stash when they need a few. They might take a dozen, they might take two, just what they need. So yeah, it's good to sort of see what they're searching for and see what they prefer to pick up out of my stash. And if I have too many cards, I usually end up donating them to an op shop. They sell them only for a few dollars, but at least I know that someone is going to enjoy these makes for sure. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed learning about this vellum pocket and it has inspired you. I will leave links to all of the products down below, including a link to the Buy Me a Coffee in case you'd like to support my channel. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye!